This is a true story that I made up. See what you think of this song I call Uneasy Road Trip. I was on vacation driving to the next KOA, tooling along in my 2500 Chevrolet, trailering our camper with my family, listening to the radio. Just as I crossed the Mississippi River state line, I heard my third child start to whine, and I knew he was feeling carsick and we had to make a pit stop. Well, it should have been an easy enough stop, alright, but fitting my rig into a parking lot is kind of tight, so I had to find me a truck stop for the crew. I went up to the next exit and I made a right, and I got ready to park it at this site that had gas, called a quick trip and go in. Well, that was the summer of 2020 and COVID-19, and I just wanted to make a quick stop and then leave the scene, but as for a face mask, I didn't have a one. I was happy to be greeted at the door and see there wasn't anyone else in the place but us three, and the clerk just ran away from us as we headed to the back. You might not think this part is important, son, but since this story has just begun, you'll have to trust me. We'll circle back to this part in the end. And although I know very little about politics, I have picked up on some of the antics, and I use the good stuff as I see fit. So when Obama was elected president that 2008 year, I will profess that, and let me be clear, that I really like this message of, yes, we can. Now back to my story as I digress, because it's about to turn into a bit of a mess, and now you're committed to hear how this thing is going to turn out. Just when I thought I would leave scot-free, a bunch of people wearing masks came in looking at me. The last one pulled up a mask that covered some mean-looking teeth. I turned around to hide my bare face, but saw the look in their eyes of disgrace, and knew a spirited discussion was about to ensue. Now the last thing I was thinking that was this was going to cause a fight, when all we're talking about was wearing a mask into a store, right? But these folks couldn't seem to let it go. Well, they all started cackling about what if we were sick, could somehow from across the place by some trick give them a virus or something like that willfully and intentionally. Just at that moment I felt a sneeze coming on and decided to hurry me and my son along and try the next stop instead to get some air. I announced that nobody in particular would be on our way, paid and thanked the clerk who had nothing to say, but the group chimed in again. How dare I? They said I had no right to enter a store like that, with a kid no less, wearing only a hat on his head, and we shouldn't be using the bathrooms for crying out loud. In passing, I mentioned we use our own bathroom in the camper, and that both of us weren't harming anyone, and we were just a dad face covered in stubble and a kid face covered in dirt. The sign on the door said face coverings must be worn inside, and at least for the record, for what it's worth I tried, to diffuse the situation with a little comedy. He was not amused, and he said, "That's not fair, you do as you're told, and didn't I care about myself and my kid and other people in the USA?" I informed them I'd stop for my kid who needed a break, and we were in a bit of a hurry for goodness sake. My kid needed medicine, and we had unfortunately run out. There was a unison aha as we headed for the door, and I felt we were being followed outside the store, and sure enough, the group would not let it be. And just then my son turned a shade of blue, and I pointed his head down towards Mean Teeth's shoe, and right on schedule my little one threw up. Things got a little tense, I must confess. I told you this story would include a mess. So I turned to my little guy and I said, "Aw, you poor thing." Mario Andretti definitely would have been proud of how fast I collected my kid, but not how slow or loud we'd end up exiting towing a 3-ton camper with a tired old truck. I said, "Now wait a minute, you can't just not wear a mask in a store, throw up in my shoe, and then leave. I'm going to ask you to stop right there and make things right." I was thinking to myself, I didn't need this glitch, and also, I done told you once, you son of a, but let's switch to the rest of this tale and see how it's going to conclude. I said, first of all, I was minding my own business, not trying to rob the joint. He hadn't tried to stop us, and I had warned him, and to my other point, exactly because of this America, yes, we can. They got real quiet. I said, "Now leave us be, we'll be on our way now." You could plainly see they all looked dumbfounded as we left. You can ask my wife. That's the story of my uneasy road trip, and you can bet my family probably thought I flipped when I announced. Okay, everyone, next up, Omaha.